cloud. No, record on this computer. Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal Show. We played the music already. I'm not a pro yet with Zoom. We've got our guest here with the strangest name. I'm sorry. You know, if I would tell you to change your name, okay, or shorten it. Erin Stancik. Nobody can see that. Erin Stancik.
You can just call me Erin Zules. Erin Zules.
Zool, okay, yeah. You know, we'll call her by a code name, and then if we say something that's bad for her company, which we're not going to really mention, okay? If we say something, then nobody will know. Zool.
Zool. I like
it. Is it Zool as in like the Ghostbusters Zool?
I don't know.
Oh,
There's Zool.
Is it Zool? Dwarf. You know, Dwarf. Yeah, Zoolsdorf.
Yeah, no,
but
a dwarf. What's a dwarf? Is a town in German.
Zool in Ghostbusters is like the uber monster.
Okay. Do you remember? We're talking about movies. So, do you remember the movie with Tom Hanks and Sally Fields, the comedian?
No, I'm too young. Remember, I looked probably too young.
Yeah, I know you're young. You know what? Yeah. They got a thing called Netflix now where they play old movies. Okay.
No, I see it, of course.
She says, my husband gave me something long and hard. It's his Polish last name. Okay, so anyway, I'll edit that out. It doesn't reflect on her company, okay? And Stephen O'Donnell from Glasgow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And if anybody wants pictures of Glasgow, he rides his bike around all over the place and he offers to send you postings. Michael G. Cox is here. Okay, let's get going. Okay, let me just look at I made a lot of notes, Erin. You have the strangest LinkedIn profile that I've seen in a while. First of all, you introduce yourself like this. You say you're developing meaningful relationships with engineering, product management, and technical program management, executive level, meaningful relationships. I've never heard that talked about, a recruiting relationship talked about that way. And what else do you say about yourself? Geez, where's the part? I missed it. Where do you say you're the kind of person who likes to, I don't know.
I'm a
matchmaker. What do you say?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how I say it, but essentially I think of myself as a matchmaker, matching couples and friends and jobs and candidates and people to great products. You know, if I find something I'm passionate about, I'm going to tell you about it. So I think I started a mentoring community of over 200 people at Microsoft. I was the first mentor just because I became mentor. I loved it. I told people that
you're a young punk and you were mentoring people? How old were they? 10?
They were only a few years younger than me, but still I managed to help her.
Okay.
It was out.
Do you like setting your friends up on dates or something? Because that's what it sounded like. It was so cuddly.
I am cuddly. Yeah, of course I do. Don't you? I think people are happier in pairs. Whatever type of pair it is. I feel like most people are happier in pairs.
I don't know. Okay. So, okay. Here. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll just jump right into it. Someone said on Google, there's a site called Candor, and they said they reviewed you as a recruiter, and they said you're too pushy. Why? Why did they say that?
You know, I looked at this website and I think I wanted to talk about it because there's just one review and it's a rather negative review.
Okay,
I ghosted
but both things they say about you are negative. There's called Candor. Candor, right?
And so I think of a few things. It looks like, well, first of all, they say I've also been at Google for 5 years. And I've only been at Google for 2.5 years. So this website
don't say your company, okay? I'm afraid of your company. Don't say anything about your company. But if I say something wrong, they can get me, okay? I'm a user, everybody. I use Google.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it.
I'm afraid.
I don't leave reviews unless I'm really upset, right? So I'm sure that in 10, 12 years of recruiting, I've pissed somebody off. So it's okay. I wish it was perfect every time, but it's okay.
Let me read something.
I messed up or somebody felt like leaving a negative review.
Okay. This guy, Patrick Boonstra, said on my Facebook group, he said, Renee Bollier once told me he usually only makes a sale after 12 no's. It's the persistence that gets you the business in the end, okay? And there's lots of people Lots of people say that if you're not pissing people off, you're
not
not recruiting.
I
You're
like
not
it.
recruiting.
I like it. I think you're right. The squeaky wheel gets it, right? Or something, the squeaky worm, or I don't know. You get it, right? I always think of that.
Michael G. Cox. Okay, so let's do a round table on that. Give me an example, Erin, of when you've been pushy, okay? Or because someone said she was pushy. When, like, how many times will you call somebody or send emails?
Oh, yeah, I'll call 10, 15 times if I have to, if they're the diamond in the rough, right? If they're the person we need and they haven't asked me not to call them. Of course, I'm respectful if they ask me to back off, but if we want them and need them, I'm going to follow up thoughtfully. I think it's best to do it over time, but I've been in touch with candidates for 2 years and followed up every couple of months and tried to get them with
That's not pushy. That's not pushy. Calling up calling them 5 times a week for 6 weeks or 7 weeks.
That's not very effective.
Stephen O'Donnell. This guy's bold. Okay, he was on the show just a few weeks ago. That's what we talked about, being bold. Okay.
Yeah.
He's bold. How persistent are you?
I'm pretty dogged. I've gone to people's houses before. I've knocked on their doors. I've stood outside factories waiting for people to come out. I've gone to the pubs where people in the company I'm targeting people from, I'll go to the pubs nearby so that when they come out of work, and they would go in there. Now, remember that I'm in Scotland and everyone goes to the pub, and I'd be recruiting engineers, so the pub is their natural domain. But yeah, I'd knock on their door. I'd go and track them down. And one way or another, I'd get a hold of them.
There's been a few cases where I've seen people complaining, this scumbag recruiter couldn't get in touch with me, so she found my sister's email on Google and sent a request to the sister to get in touch with me. I think that's great. I think it's terrific. They didn't like it. Stephen O'Donnell, is that fair? Do you respect that person?
Maybe phoning the sister is not the thing, but yeah, I think whatever way you can get to the person, If you find out that they play squash or a particular sport, then go and hang out where they're hanging out.
That's if you're only recruiting in the same city. Who does that anymore?
Well,
that's good sales. We're in sales. That's great sales.
Well, put it this way: if you know someone has a channel on Twitch, let's get all modern for a second. If someone's got a channel on Twitch, then you would follow them, you would watch their shows, you would comment on them, you would spark up a discussion. If they're on LinkedIn or Twitter, then you would follow them, you would comment, you would get a discussion. Any blogs that they did, you would get involved with.
So
Wait, are you talking about business development there, Stephen, or
Amy
or
must look pretty rough this morning. I know it's only 9 o'clock in Seattle, but I mean, she's not opening her camera. Okay.
Michael, I gotta chime in.
I was just here to listen. I didn't want to interfere, but I just want to say I love Erin. I consider her one of my good friends.
Why?
I've worked for 2 different companies, and she's phenomenal.
Why?
She's easily one of the top 5 recruiters I've worked with in 22 years.
And why? Let's hear a reference. So why do you say that, Amy?
Because she's like tiny and cute and blonde, but she's a freaking bulldog. I mean, she doesn't she doesn't stop, but she does it in a way that you want to listen to her and you want to take her call. It's really great. I've sat next to her and watched her recruit. She's phenomenal.
Michael G. Cox, how many times would you call somebody?
Oh, yeah. There really isn't an end until they say stop.
100?
100? In a convincing way.
100? Because I've read that too. 100?
No, dude. I have to go after so many more. If I had one candidate and that's the one candidate that I'm hanging all of my hopes and dreams on, okay, maybe 100, but that's not going to happen.
Okay, Amy, I have to tell you, I was surprised when somebody said online in public that she's pushy and she's proud of it. Okay, so maybe you're right.
I have to say I worked in cybersecurity recruiting, and they have very little online footprint. I had to be pretty pushy and get on Twitter and investigate. I found somebody's high school donation page to figure out an email address and more about them and their family. Sometimes you got to dig. And that's the only way to do your job. You got to get paid.
Does anyone ever get mad? Does anyone ever get mad?
Offer they can't refuse.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that.
Does anyone ever get mad at you?
Oh, I don't know. I think Amy said I have a pretty nice style, so it's hard to really.
What does that mean?
It's impossible to get mad at her. She's so freaking adorable. How can you get mad at that?
You can't see her.
I see her.
Yeah. Not through a phone call or an email.
No, but I think, and again, I'm saying this as someone who has sat next to Erin and like learned from her and watched her recruit. Like she doesn't BS. She's very to the point. She will tell you exactly, this is why I want to talk to you. This is what I want to talk about. She doesn't play stupid games. Like she's very clear with these people. And I think engineers appreciate it.
Hold on a second.
Engineers don't care about your sales bullshit. Just get to the point. What do you want? I want to recruit you. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about that if it's the right time.
Okay.
That's her style. It's very like to the point.
Do my research. You gotta know exactly what
you're the guest. I'm going to talk over you because you got a lousy connection. Okay. You are like Amy in that you're always posting pictures of the dogs. Although she shows them doing dumb things by themselves, you're always hugging them. Okay. So if you send an email, should you send a picture of you hugging your dog in the signature? I've never thought of that before. But Amy's saying, she's persistent, but she's nice, right? And
I think I've done that.
Oh, yeah.
I've done it. I have. Yes. When I found someone to be a dog lover or a cat lover, or they love trucks or, SpaceX, I will send them things that resonate with them, that grab their attention. A funny joke. I've tried everything.
But I'm not
Hey,
like
recruiting in Texas, you need to know about their truck.
I don't have a dog. I'm not a cute young woman like her.
I wouldn't send you a dog. I'd send you a crazy animal. Something wild.
Okay, I just want to say something. Okay, there was an article this week about whether Zoom has made resting bitchy face a problem. I don't know if it's sexist to call resting bitchy face. Okay, but if somebody here isn't talking, you don't have to pretend you're interested, okay? You can walk around, drink stuff, okay? Or you can just leave. I don't care, okay? I just called Amy because she's always showing herself in her videos. There goes the guest, okay? She's
walking around. You've bored her. She's walking around.
Here. I figured, boy, she must have had a rough night. That's why I mentioned it. That's the only reason.
I did, but I'm still here to support my friend, and I just wanted to listen, but since I'm here, might as well show my face.
Is resting bitchy face? I'd say all of us. I'd say Steven's got
bitchy face.
Mike, do you have a bitchy face? Is that?
No, I said it's not bitchy face. It's bitch face.
Bitch face. No. There's a few different ways of saying it. Okay. Is it an issue? Stephen O'Donnell. I'd say you got the bitchiest face here. Hi, Ernie.
Hello. I see. The thing is, it goes along with the accent, and I was going to say before that Erin, with the best of respect, you can do certain things on calls and approaching people that I couldn't even dream of. You could do all the adorable stuff, or you could flip it and be tough with someone, and it would be unusual for someone who looked like you to be really tough.
Adorableness makes it cushions the bad stuff.
But I can't. Not in a month of Sundays can I pull off adorable. It's not going to happen.
That's right. And that's what I can't pull off being an asshole. Women get kind of pushed back for, when we're aggressive or other things. So, there's the ups and downs of that cushiness.
Let me ask you that. Hold on. I don't think that's true.
It's true.
If you're forceful, are people more inclined to call you a bitch than they are to call me a bastard or a prick?
Is
water wet?
Yes.
I've never seen it.
Because you're not a woman. You don't get to tell us what we have experienced time and again.
Yes, I do. Because it's not like I live only with men. I mean, I'm not in a locker room all day long.
So you actually have women in your life, and you have never seen this or heard stories or listened to. I'm shook right now.
That would be a revelation right there.
The first part of the question that Amy just asked. You have women in your life?
Yeah, yes, I do. Okay. And I've always known lots of women. I've never heard of all the mansplaining that she accuses people of doing. Do you have that problem?
Interesting.
Okay, wait a second.
My dad has a daughter, and when I got pregnant, he asked me if I was going to continue working on maternity leave. So even my dad, who's an amazing dad, is making old man assumptions that are definitely not true. And thank God my manager didn't make the same one.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have a question for her before I go on? Ernie, Ernie, why don't you get a better camera? Okay. You make enough money. You're making all those places.
I tried to clean it.
Okay. You can afford it. Okay. Go to Best Buy or somebody like that. Okay. It's on Amazon. Get yourself a better, okay.
My lights up on top and stuff,
But you know what? I'll just finish. Sorry, I didn't mean to go so on. But when they look at you and you look like their daughter, okay, or kid sister, does that take away your credibility ever?
Yeah, it did when I first started in recruiting. I was pretty sensitive about it. Started wearing glasses to try to look older and more mature.
There's no real glass. It's just.
No, it is. I actually need them for driving mostly. But it definitely had an impact and was tough at the beginning. I found that people didn't take me as seriously, and I had to be extra prepared. I had to do more research. I had to work harder to gain their respect and trust. But over time, now that track record speaks for itself, I run up against it less often.
And that's your advice to young punks? You have to try harder? Is that it?
No, I think I guess you do have to try harder. I think, unfortunately, we have come a long way, but not far enough. And so there is still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of bias that comes from looking young, from looking old, from being Black, from being female. There's bias and assumptions that make an ass out of you and me get made every single day. And so, for me, I do what works for me to meet my goals.
Next question. Okay, I forgot about my ads. But next question. What about?
That's okay.
What about you went to accounting? You took accounting in university. Am I right about that? Yes or no?
You are right. Yes.
Okay. So you have no functional experience with all these jobs you're recruiting on now. Okay. What?
100%.
Okay, well, why would someone like Amy say you're a fantastic recruiter if you really have, and how do you build your credibility without having really any kind of technical knowledge?
Yeah, no, great question. I do 3 things. I'm super prepared. So I do my research, both on what the job is, what the hiring manager needs, why I'm going after a candidate, why I'm going to talk to them. And then I'm communicative, both in how I reach out and my follow-up. And then, 3, I think it's just about care. It's just about caring about, what you do, bringing passion and,
if he asks you a question, does anybody want to take my side on this? If the engineer asks a question, you're not in any position to answer it. Geez, I don't know. I'll have to ask somebody.
You're not if you haven't done your research. You got to do your research. Now, not all questions, right? When it gets really technical, when you get into the details, I say, hey, if they're a good candidate, I say, hey, let's set you up with the hiring manager to talk more about that. I'm not the best person, but I know when I can answer the baseline questions and be the gatekeeper. The recruiter is the gatekeeper, right? I'm not the expert. I'm expert enough to be a gatekeeper.
Anybody want to take her on? Because there's guys like, for instance, Steve Levy, who's an engineer. He says that gives him a huge advantage. Okay.
When was the last time he did engineering work?
It doesn't work for me, right? That's not my advantage. Everybody has strengths, and that's not mine.
Does anybody want to take these 2 on? Okay. Oppress the women on the show. Anybody?
Can I take issue with the fact that people keep talking about recruiting engineers? When I was recruiting, I recruited engineers. Now, these were electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, industrial engineers. There was no computers involved in these. So the default is physical engineering. If you're going to talk about IT and say that's engineering, unless you say someone is a software engineer. So let's preface every engineer with software engineer, if that's what we're talking about. Real engineering is physical stuff.
Okay. I don't think it matters what the domain is, though. I've done software engineering, sales recruiting, cybersecurity recruiting, executive recruiting. I'm not an executive. I won't be an executive for a long, long time. I don't think being an expert in the domain, being able to do the job is what's important when you're recruiting.
You're dead right. The thing is when you're recruiting in a particular area, you learn about the subject, but more than that, you learn to be a good judge of character, and you learn to know when someone's telling you the truth or not. So if someone's saying, I'm a great engineer, and you've judged their character correctly, then you believe them, and you're able to represent them as being a good engineer. You don't need to be an expert in that.
It goes back, and exactly right, but it goes back to the hiring manager. And if you have a good conversation with the hiring manager that tells you what exactly that person wants to see, then you just follow the checklist and says you want this, this, and this, then fine, and I'll give it to you. You send him some people. If he says, you're offline, then Go back and say, well, what did I miss? And then you refine it, and I'll look for that. And then I will ask the engineer, do you have this background? And he says, yes. Explain it, not whatever. I don't need to understand it, but you have it. I forward it. That's when the deep conversation comes.
I just got to point out that Amy's got resting bitch face, okay? Okay.
Bitchy face.
Okay, I got to do an ad. And actually, this is a very good segue, okay? Honeit, HONEIT.com. It's the online interview technology. You and the candidate, you record your interview in audio, video if you want. It creates a searchable transcript. And here's the thing. If you don't know anything, you can ask the key questions, and your candidate tells you the stuff, and then you just pass it on directly. You just pass the recording on directly to the hiring manager, and she can figure out what the candidate is saying. Not only that, you don't have to send the whole interview. When you ask those key questions, before you press a button, and then you ask the question, you have the conversation, you press another button, that creates a little clip. Okay, so the key questions you could send over, isolated, let the hiring manager judge herself. Honeit, HONEIT.com. Okay, Amy, you've switched places with Michael G. Cox. I liked Michael G. Cox had a good background there with actually live people. Yeah,
him and Steven are working in the same coffee shop, it appears.
Yeah.
He's right next to me.
Yeah.
My new friend.
Okay. So hold on. Let's get to this question about persuasion then, Erin. You know, we're talking around. I'm not getting to a lot of questions to ask you, but you can come back another time. Okay, Amy's a regular. She'll tell you how it works. So, have you ever persuaded somebody? You call someone up, they say, "I'm not interested." Have you ever persuaded somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Give me an example. Can you remember an example?
Yeah, I can remember an example. There was a cybersecurity guy that I was trying to recruit for about a year, and followed him to conferences. He was a speaker. I tried to wait for him at the side of the podium, be like, "Oh, hey, Mister, I really want you to have this job. You'd be great here. Tell me what it'll take. Come over here, talk to this person. Let me make this match." And I think I followed him around conferences for a year and a half. And then eventually we got him to interview. I actually think this one in particular, the first time we didn't land him. Money wasn't good enough. But then I think 6 months later, another job, another time, they brought him in.
Hold on. Weren't you working with Amy then? She can turn anybody around on salary, right?
I probably should have tapped her on the shoulder. Yes, yeah. I was not. I
she told us that's when they can't land the people. They bring her in.
It depends. Sometimes declines tell a really good story. So sometimes you need declines so you can beat comp over the head with it.
Right? Sometimes, it's okay to say no. If they really want you, maybe they'll come back later.
You drive me crazy, Michael G. Cox. I better look this way because I don't like that. I don't like your background.
That's good.
I'm gonna hide like this.
That hat.
Okay, hold on a second.
Resting on my
you gave the story, but that's not the. You gave an example that won't apply to most people. You followed somebody around from conference to conference. I'm talking about getting someone on the phone. Okay, I'll be talking.
I'll tell you another one. Yeah, there was.
No. Let me finish. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No. Yeah. You talk. Hi, I'm a recruiter. I've got a position I'm working on. I want to talk to you about it. This is what it is. Thank you. Good. And they say no. And they say, "I'm not interested. I'm happy where I am." And you turn the person around on that call. Has it ever happened?
Oh, yeah, of course. Most of the time. Yeah, well, I tell them, hey, you may think there's never a good time to move. Number one, never a good time to move, especially if you're really talented and doing great. Most of the time, you're not looking to make a move. However, if you never talk to people, if you never see what else is out there, it's hard to know what is your market value, what might you be missing out on, are there connections that can be made? There's a lot of good that can come of exploring, and you never, what do you have to lose, right? What do you have to lose for having a conversation with the hiring manager? What if it ends up being a great conversation and you find that there is something missing in your current job, or a year from now, you're not looking now, but a year from now, you already have that connection with the hiring manager. So you don't have to go through the bullshit recruiting process, trying to get your resume noticed. You can call the hiring manager, and then, they agreed to take the call with the hiring manager.
Okay. Anybody else do that differently? And they respond to that.
Yes.
I liked it. I thought it was great. Anybody else do something different?
Erin, can I ask, so when you're speaking with so many software engineers and developers, then they're in a position where they're being pursued by recruiters all the time from different companies. Now, obviously, when they get a call from someone at Google, they're going to pay attention. They're going to take the call. But when someone's not looking, are they actively cultivating connections with a variety of companies so that when they want to look for a job in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, they've got companies that are open to the approaches, and at the same time fielding all the recruiters they don't want to speak to? How do they handle that? How do they handle rejecting recruiters that are continually knocking on their door?
Yeah, most of the time, no. Most people are not cultivating networking. No, absolutely not. But, I think that's my job, is to convince them that, in my case, it's worth their time, that they should take this call. Vast majority, I would say, do not respond. And then it's the follow-up email and the follow-up email, and just convincing them to get on the phone. Yeah.
Hold on a second. What Stephen was talking about, Amy has told us many times. You said that everybody you're dealing with is talking to lots of other companies at the exact same time. Am I right about that, Amy?
So once you activate them, yeah, right? Because once they agree, like, okay, yeah, I'll explore this, or I'll talk to that manager, then they're engineers. They're driven by data. So one single data point is not going to be enough to make a career change. So now, well, let me take the call from 3 other companies. Let me interview a bunch of places. Let me get a bunch of offers. Let me plug it into a spreadsheet. You have to be prepared for that too. That's just the mind of an engineer in most cases.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right, Amy. I think they're passive until they're not, and then there's always competition.
Okay.
Let me ask this then, Erin. You're Google now. You were Microsoft before, so people are going to take your call. Can you imagine what it's like to be with a low brand name company and trying to pursue these same candidates?
Hard, couldn't. Most of the time, right? I mean, a lot more scrappy. You got to get a lot more creative. You got to dig. I mean, I feel like I tasted a little bit of it with cybersecurity, because cybersecurity engineer market was hot, and even with Microsoft, they weren't taking my calls. I wasn't, maybe getting, I don't know, 40% response rate on that, and that was high. That's high, right? But for those that are at the, agencies, places that don't have a name yet, tough. I realize I've had a luxurious kind of, luck of the draw getting into Microsoft early.
It's a bit like being a salesman for Ferrari. If you were selling Ferraris all day, then that would be, you would imagine that's an easy job. Or I'm sure there's a lot more to it. But if you're selling, I don't know, Toyotas, it's a whole different thing. You have to talk about the value for money when a Ferrari is the best car in the world.
But those buyers are different. And so to your point about going after the same talent, we're not going after the same talent. The talent I was going after at Zones, which was a tiny, horrible Glassdoor review, horrible pay company, the kind of people I was going after for the exact same job title that I went after at Microsoft are completely different. So they each have their own problems, but you can't look at that and say, oh, well, you're trying to address the same market, you're going after the same buyer, because you're not.
But it's easier for me to get someone on the phone, but just as hard, I would argue, to actually land someone, because most of the people I'm trying to get on the phone are gainfully employed and well paid.
Okay, but hold on, let me come back to that question to you. So you gave a nice spiel or pitch, and say, hold on, you can, establish relationships that you're going to use later on. It's a strategic thing. Don't worry about tomorrow, okay? Let's just get to know each other. Okay, and then they say, I like talking to you. You made a good case, but I still no, I'm not ready. What do you do then?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. If they're really the person that I want, I'll have the hiring manager actually follow up with them. If the hiring manager is super passionate about landing that person, I'll let them make the call next.
You bring dad in, okay? You bring mom or dad. You don't push yourself. You're not that pushy, okay? You don't say, hold on.
I read the scenario, right? You got to read.
Hold on, Bill. I know you like what I said. Trust me. Have some trust in me. Go out and you won't be unhappy. Have I ever lied to you? No. Okay? Do this. So you don't come back and push. You don't push, right?
It
Even though
depends on the
you can
candidate.
push
You know,
better than any of us here because you're so sweet, right?
if I'm lukewarm on them, though, you know, sometimes I reach out to a candidate that I'm like, yeah, they look pretty good. I want to talk to them a little more, right? If they're not wanting to chat, I let it go. I'm not going to waste my time. If it's the person that the hiring manager has said, this is the person, we need this person, I will go. I will go and I will push and I will pull any lever that I have. I will send gifts. I will have the hiring manager reach out. I will have someone from an employee resource group reach out. I will have Amy reach out. Maybe I'll try to see if they can call into your show. You know, well, I'll try anything. If they're
You're like a little terrier. You're like a little
You don't want to
terrier,
scare
right?
them off.
whatever it takes.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on.
Ernie, you usually have a lot to say. You haven't said a word. Do you have something?
I'm listening to the pros and the
She does sound like a pro.
in the other side of the universe.
Told you.
They're not agency people. They're internal. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the
Michael G.
that's the whole
Cox,
different world. And
you want to say something to her before I do an ad?
no, I just say it's a
No,
different,
no.
different
Hey,
show.
about your ads, did you get paid last year?
You know what? If you keep bugging me, if someone has to be persistent with me, I haven't billed them in like 2 years, okay?
All right.
And I want to charge
You know,
them
the
for
o-
at
the
least
only
the past
issue-
year, okay?
The
Hire Tool,
only problem-
H-I, what? H-I-R-E-T-U-A-L. I sold Amy on them. I don't know if she's
I love Hire Tool.
She tried selling
Yeah.
Google on it. She was
I
big
tried
at it.
selling Google on them too, and I didn't get anywhere. But I have it. It was
I
part
like
of my
that.
contract when I came to my new company. I'm like, I'm not coming if I don't get Hire Tool.
really.
It makes
Wow.
it easier. Yeah.
Wow. And we all
That's an
consider,
endorsement
I don't
right
know, I
there.
consider Amy a super recruiter. Would you agree with me about that, Erin?
Absolutely. I love working with Amy. The feeling is mutual sitting next to her. I like listening to her. She makes me laugh, kind of like you. She'll be wearing a funny hat. She'll be spitting some, you know.
But she's got a bottle of vodka beside her, okay?
Oh,
Probably.
almost safe. But more often a dog. But
But here's the thing, everybody.
Whiskey.
Amy, the super recruiter who's worked at the biggest companies, most famous companies in the world, she endorsed Hire Tool. And
Hire
I was
Tool
the one
and
who made-
Erin.
I made the introduction, okay? I made the introduction. Okay. So anybody got a question before I move on? Anybody? Or let me ask
Hey.
Erin. Oh, okay. Well, Michael G. Cox. Go ahead. I just
You know,
want to say
the
something.
only-
Oh, wait a sec. Jerry called in and Jerry just doesn't want video. I mean, I'm sorry. I stayed away from video for years in honor to Jerry. Now he doesn't like it. So I miss him, but he's not here. Go ahead, Michael G. Cox.
Hey, I've listened to, like, you'll have it at online webinars and presentations, and then back when we used to actually go to events, remember way back when?
She chases
And,
people at events. She just told us.
And the funny thing is that we always heard about how recruiting is done at Google, or how it's done at Microsoft, or how it's done at big name company. And I keep thinking, man, I'm at a tiny little, the smallest show in town, still trying to scrape together some sort of a candidate target list. And it doesn't work the same. If I do the same thing that Google said that they do, I'm thinking, man, it's just different when you got that logo. I'm not saying that it's easier. It's just different.
Yeah, you are. It's easier.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, come and do it, and then we'll talk about how easy it
Wait a
is.
second. I listened to what she said, and it sounded like
No, I just
the
said
exact
it's
same
slightly
as any
easier. How's
recruiter.
that?
The only
No,
thing
I
is,
just think it's a different ball game. It's a
How?
whole way of
course.
recruiting.
Yes.
how?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
even the
because
type of
you have-
person that you're
You
probably
have
recruiting
control
for
of
is
the
going to be
hiring
different.
manager.
Hey, well, one at a time. One at a time. Michael G. Cox, finish off, then Ernie, then Amy.
I'll say it's slightly easier, but at the same time, you're probably going after candidates. Let's say we have the same sales position that's available. We're not going to be speaking to the same type of candidate. I'm not saying anything about caliber, but the type of candidate that I'm speaking to is just going to be different. Maybe not as interested as others, not as interested in working at Google, Microsoft, Amazon, organizations like AWS and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I mean, we do have I think when you believe in what you're selling and you have a really good product to sell, it does make it easier, right? So the process may be the same, but absolutely working at a Google or a Microsoft, if you believe in the product, it's easier to sell, right? It's just, there's tons of perks and benefits. Everybody should, I think it's the place that a lot of people want to come and be, and it definitely helps.
Well, I don't know what he said. Michael G. Cox, you're usually a little more clear than that. It's a door opener, like Steven said, but otherwise she does the same things you do. And there's tons of other companies calling those same candidates. She's fighting tooth and nail, just like you are. I don't know. You didn't make a good case.
We're also fighting preconceived notions, because everybody has a brother whose sister's cousin's ex-roommate dated a guy who had a bad experience at Google. So we're fighting that misconception. They all know what it's like to work here. They all know how terrible this or that is. They know everything. And so we don't have the same opportunity to come in brand new and set the narrative as a smaller company can do. We have to already start thinking about, how am I going to bust the myth that they think they know about working here or this particular division or that location.
I think that's the same everywhere. If you're calling from Microsoft or Google or ABC company down the street, you've got to set a narrative about, people have preconceived notions about everything. Oh, that one tire shop down the street. Well, let me tell you about this. And you're changing minds or just resetting narratives, as you put it.
But what your neighbor said about the tire shop down the street is not the same as 75,000 tweets and 16 Wall Street Journal articles.
With a company like Google, then you're in the news all the time. It's incessant, and people all have different experiences of Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think most candidates understand
Google is spreading the virus yet, have they?
I still think branding is a benefit. It still makes it easier for me, I think.
Yeah.
It's a whole process, though. I mean, when you work on as an agency as opposed to a corporate internal, number one, you got to do business development. You got to go out and reach out to people, get your clients, and all this. Yeah. You have your set clients. You have the hiring managers there that say, "I need this position filled. It's approved," and then they go to you. You talk to them. You set out your parameters as to what you want. They know one thing. They use you because they don't have to pay an outside recruiter. And so they save money until you decide, you know what, I need to send it out and get some help. But that's one part of it. I think that's a real difference.
I think that let's not assume, though, that every hiring manager understands
let me finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll never understand.
I know you're talking about being a woman. I know you're talking about being a woman, but I'm Hispanic, so
I'm talking about being a woman. That's nothing to do with it. I'm talking about your understanding from what you've said so far, and then I'll let you finish. That hiring managers are automatically bought into needing to recruit.
You're not letting me finish. Let me finish.
Please, the floor is yours, Ernie.
So I think you can go back and forth, and you have that person's attention. You have a slate of people that you have, and you can talk to them, and you can go back to the hiring manager, and then you're dealing with the hiring manager to get their attention in terms of, I can call you, I can talk to you, I know you need to talk to me, you're not, and then they may throw you under the bus saying you're not bringing me clients or candidates, but at the same time, you're doing everything you can, and they're not responding. We do that from an agency, but we don't get that same sort of, I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying that Amy can go down the hall and manhandle or woman handle this hiring manager.
No, I think what happens
to... I think he's saying we don't have to do business development. We get business. Like we are paid to fill recs.
Yeah, what you're saying is right, but that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about...
You also got higher level of responsibility.
What I'm saying is that when you don't have responses from your hiring manager.
Oh, that happens to us too.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And then what they will turn around and say is, Erin's not giving me anybody, and you're sitting there and you're going, that's such BS because I just gave him 10 people. The guys,
especially with the vice president, it's very easy to push back on them. Yes.
And they will throw you under the bus at a moment's notice when they start getting called. But in the meantime, everything else is more important. And I think that's where it's a different job because you have to go back and forth and you have to pay attention to them.
Let's hear what Scotland has to say. What were you saying?
I'm just saying, I imagine there's a lot of politics involved if you're working with an in-house, an internal hiring manager, and they're not responding to you. So you reckon, well, I'll just freeze them out. Yeah. Well, you can't, because it's going to kill you in the long run. So whatever you do, you got to manage the relationship.
Hold on.
And you've got responsibility for how well someone does in the job.
But Michael G. Cox is, he made himself out to be a little nobody, but he worked for many years in one of the biggest companies in the world, okay, a Xerox division. But Amy has made a point of telling everybody how to deal with hiring managers. And my impression has always been she's going to deny it when I say it, but she goes in there and slaps them around. And you listen to me, buddy. I tell you what's going on here. You don't tell me.
Hey, I didn't earn the title for nothing, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, recruiter.
That's awesome. From what you told me,
about that.
Here's the thing, and I have to run in 3 minutes. I have 3 minutes because I have to go do my actual job, okay? But let me put it this way, okay? Stephen is absolutely right. There are politics involved. You can't go guns blazing and piss people off because they are your partners. They are involved in your performance reviews and things like that. But the idea is building the relationships at all levels and making sure that if a manager is not, sorry, Ernie, they're not necessarily happy to hear from me. They're not necessarily invested in recruiting as they should be. So I agree with you. I'm not doing business development in the traditional agency sense, but I'm absolutely sometimes selling a hiring manager on partnering with me. No, you're not going to hire your college roommate. That's not how this process works here.
It's not the same thing. It's a totally.
What do you mean it's not the same? No, I'm not selling like a business development in an agency, but the relationship building, the convincing them to work with me, all of those things, there's more similarities than you might realize.
You do that in every job, though. In every job. All I'm saying, it's not
what's the same. It's the same challenge of trying to, get through the ambiguity and figure out what people really want so that you can deliver. And I think that ability to push back is actually harder in big companies, because when I'm working with executives, it is hard. It is, they are used to getting said yes to and getting what they want.
Yeah.
And when you say, hey, I don't actually think you're communicating clearly what you want. I think you want X, not Y. Those are some tricky, crucial conversations.
And I agree with you in all of that. All I'm saying is it's not the same game.
No, you're right.
No. It's a totally different game.
I assume. I haven't been there and done that.
It's a different skill set in each one. You have
I don't know about the different skills.
It is very different. When I was on the inside, and I had the extra added luxury of when I had a hiring manager that was just being difficult or was way off. I always said that the hiring managers that I work with did two things very poorly: hire and manage. And but so when they weren't behaving properly, I would have to shut them down and say, look, until you come on board with the system that we have in place, we're not recruiting for your team. I've got other people to work with that are just as important, and we're going to build their teams. And when you're ready, we're going to build your team. But this is the way we're going to do it. And by the way, I have the relationship with two skip levels up with the president of the organization, and we have agreed these are our standards and these are our procedures, and you're going to fall in line with this.
Let me ask
and I'll give this as much priority as you do. I'll give this as much priority as you do.
And Michael, can I ask this? What do you do in situations where people want to go around you directly to the hiring managers, people from recruitment agencies, or even individual candidates? They want to go around you.
Let me do an ad before we.
I gotta run, but we'll do this again soon because we need to talk more about this.
You're going to be a guest. Okay. Thank you, Amy.
All right, bye guys.
Steven,
your little sister.
It was
your little sister.
When people tried going around, unfortunately, they really couldn't because we had we had a clearly defined process, and if we were going to go external with anyone, it was going to have to be approved. And then approved a level down, and then I was working with that agency. Now that was when I was on the inside.
Okay. So when a hiring manager knows someone and says, "I want to hire this person here,"
it wasn't going to happen.
But when a hiring manager has come across a candidate they like a lot and want to hire, can they just tell the recruiter, "I want to hire this person"?
That used to happen a lot because the hiring. So I worked with sales managers and sales directors and sales VPs, and then the SVP and then the president. So those individuals that said, "We're going to hire this person," absolutely. Let's put them into the mix. and we're going to put them through the paces, and they're going to go through everything else that everybody else is going through, so as to ensure that we're hiring the right caliber individual that meets those standards that were set. But and then I would get the pushback that said, no, I want to hire this person because this is my team. Yeah. This is my sales team. I love that one. And immediately would say, no, this isn't your sales team. This team actually belongs to the organization. You're just the current sales manager or sales leader.
So hold on, let me cut you short. So I just want to take Ernie's point. Ernie said, as an outside recruiter, you could never do that. You could never say, this isn't your team, okay? You owe it to the company to be more responsible. Just like Amy said, you can't hire your roommate from college, okay? You can say that from inside, but you can't say it from outside. Ernie, am I right about
Correct.
that? That was your point?
It's different rules, and it's almost like they should have different titles.
Okay.
Very different rules.
Time out. I'm in charge. Let's do a little.
Somebody mute him.
Let's do a little go round. Okay, just Stephen, we didn't introduce him. There's not that many people. We might as well let everybody say who they are. Do you have something you want to plug? Stephen O'Donnell from Glasgow, Scotland. You want to plug anything?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of work in video tech with recruiters right now. So anyone needs help on video technology.
What website? Where should they go to talk to you if they are interested?
Just contact me through LinkedIn.
I can't believe it. This guy is smart, and he doesn't have a mindless domain
I've got 10 websites, but this is the thing that I'm most recently pivoted to, so I don't have a website for it.
Oh, Gavalt. Okay. Michael G. Cox. He used to be with a big corporation, like I said. Now you're with a company with a name I can't pronounce. What is it?
Zag.
Oh, you know what? I'll do it for him. I bought him a domain name that's easy to remember. What is it? MikeRecruiter.com. Okay.
I've also got the salesrecruiter.com and Zagworks.com.
Zagworks. Crazy. Okay. MikeRecruiter.com. He's smart. He's nice. I know him for a long time. Okay. He's a sales guy. Ernie, I got to tell you, your dad was a sharp looking guy. You posted a picture of your parents.
Thank you.
Very impressive. Okay, so you're in the tell everybody who you are and how they can get in touch with you if you want.
You can get in touch with me by calling me my number 815-382-0027. I am on the next level search.
Why don't these people have simple domain names where you can give it to somebody? I've been preaching for years, okay?
If you go into my LinkedIn site, you can find
How are they going to find you on LinkedIn? Have one for your LinkedIn. Point it to your LinkedIn, okay?
Ernie Moreno, the guy. He's the man.
Moreno.
Good recruiter.
Okay, Hire Tool. We didn't say what it was. Amy loves it, but it's the best. Well, it's one of the most famous sourcing tools. Okay, that's what it is. It's a sourcing tool. Erin, we already introduced. Sorry, I'm going to do a quick ad now. PCRecruiter.net. Okay, they are the most configurable, or one of the most configurable recruiting softwares around. If you're a recruiter, they love you. It doesn't matter if you're a little nobody like Mike here, MikeRecruiter.com, or Ernie or me, or if you're with a big company like our friend Erin, okay? They love recruiters, big or small, they help them all, and they don't impose their work style on you. You can customize their software. If you're afraid to do it yourself, they'll help you. PCRecruiter.net. Okay, where are we in the show? There's 10 minutes left. Erin, is there something that you want to have a burning desire to talk about that we haven't given you an opportunity to?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I mean, I think it's the new year, and so it's a nice time to reflect. And I listened to a podcast recently that encouraged me to put together a life plan. So, career development plan, great, but we should be, to me, I was really encouraged to think about what I want out of my life and how that informs my career plan. So I wrote my Aspire to obituary, and you can read it on LinkedIn. And I think it was a really fun exercise, as morbid as it sounds, but it is, I'm going to live this year with more intention. So I definitely recommend it.
Okay, you got a job and a little kid. She's got a job and a little kid. What intention can she put into her life? Her life is telling her what to do.
A common assumption. Yes, it's very hard to beat down some of those assumptions with being pregnant and having little kids, but I've actually found that I can develop my career, and I had my best rating ever this year coming back from 2 maternity leaves, back-to-back maternity leaves, but I managed to beat my hiring goals before I went out on maternity leave to come back and have a huge impact
on LinkedIn. Okay, you were kissing a little butt there, saying that Sheryl Sandberg taught you how to create a jungle gym career or something like that, right? What's that?
Yeah, about 7 years ago when I read
a little bit here.
Yeah, when I about 7 years, I read Lean In, and she talked about thinking of your career not as a ladder, but as a jungle gym. And that made me just think of it as a lot more fun. When I hear of fun jobs or things that people are doing that sound interesting, I just throw it on my future wish list and I let people know about it. And that's how I've gotten most of my jobs, most of my stretch opportunities. People remembered that it was on my plan and they said my name first. And then I got the first call and I landed the gig.
Okay, so you've got like an Amazon wish list for your job.
Exactly.
There you go, everybody. That's your big tip. Did somebody want to say something? Stephen, did I cut you off? Are you talking?
No. That's fine. I actually have to say, Erin. So with the big brands that you've been with, I imagine that you could just set your cap at any company that you wanted to work in. If you said, well, I next year I want to work with Tesla or Amazon or whoever the next big company is, and because you've got a grade A CV with grade A brands, then they'll take your call. So you're in a really, you've got the luxury position there of being able to do that. You could decide where you want to go in the world, and well, who's the biggest employer there? They're going to take my call. You still need to be good, but you can't mess up your CV with putting a dodgy company on there.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good point. I would say for others who don't have that luxury, I still think the theory holds that if you want people's help, you have to tell them what you want. And I get a lot of messages from aspiring Google recruiters. And one that I actually answered the other day, the gal said, hey, I saw you on this LinkedIn Live. I really want to, I just graduated and I'm passionate about HR and recruiting. Can you, spend 30 minutes with me on the phone to give me your advice? And she made that personal connection. I took her call. When I spoke with her, she had a list of questions. She was very organized, thoughtful of my time, and I'll probably talk to her again and recommend her next time it comes up. And I get 100 of those, and she's the only one I responded to in the last month. So I think there's still a lot you can do to be thoughtful in your outreach and letting people know what you want.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second. I researched her LinkedIn before the show. Amy, who's not here, said, look, if you're sending me your resume to review, you're imposing on me, okay? And she liked it every time. Amy posted it like 5 times. She liked it every single time. Don't bug me. Don't bug me. But now you come on the show and tell us how you gave half an hour to some unknown, okay?
That's only one out of 100, though. That's only one out of 100.
Right, 1 out of 100. She made a thoughtful connection, and it worked. It landed with me. You got to land with people. Don't be discouraged. I always tell people, keep reaching out, and maybe that 1 in 100 people will respond, and that could land you the connection in the job. So don't be discouraged, right?
I'm not with any big company. I'm a nobody, and I got these people pestering me all day long on LinkedIn, okay? It bugs me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody or me? Who's going? Okay.
Erin, go on, Erin. Just say something else.
No. This guy. This is a burning. I got a burning question.
Pregnant and being a woman with kids, because I think that this is a common assumption that I would like to correct for people. I feel like for myself and a lot of friends that I've had, when you get pregnant, there's an assumption from coworkers or people you work with that you want to take it easy. I think this often gets made, and for myself, that was not the case in both cases. I already felt like I was going to have 5-6 months off, which yes, was amazing, a great benefit, but it felt like it was already anxiety, like feeling it was taking away from my career and what I worked really hard for. And so I actually wanted to go as hard as possible before I went on maternity leave, not to take it easy or have work given to other people. And I found, it really helped me to correct that up front with people, to let people know these are my goals. I want to exceed expectations, give me the work. And, that worked for me. So I think, to anyone, don't make assumptions. It makes an ass out of you and me whenever possible, but also especially when people are pregnant or have young children or, it's easy.
Hold on. Hold on. One of the things that has been recruiters get advice that what women want more than anything else, mothers, Or flex hours. Do you guys offer them? Is that a big selling point?
Yeah, I think we do at Google. I haven't looked into it for myself, but definitely flexibility for anyone is really helpful. And as a working mom, it's great to have that possible option. But that doesn't mean that's what I want, right? That doesn't mean that every single woman or every single mom or parent wants to work flexible schedule.
Anybody else got to take on the flex hours? Is that
the thing is on as Erin was saying, some people, they might assume that you want to take it easy when you're having kids, and it should always be your choice whether you do or you don't. But there are just as many women who decide that when they're having kids, they want to ramp it up because they like to be. And frankly, if I want to get something done, I'm going to ask a busy person, and people looking after kids and the job. I know more than a few who have got hundreds of outside activities as well. They're running committees and groups and this and that and the other, and they're holding down a busy job, and they're looking after the kids, and they're on the school board. So all of those things can be done, and it's the different personalities will do it in different ways. So you can't assume one person will be the same.
I don't know
as
anybody
the next
like
person.
that, but I do know someone.
It's just good to have options. I would rather be the one to say no than somebody just not give me the opportunity.
Okay, I don't like people asking me in the first place, but I do have an ad, okay? Usually I do them at the beginning.
Again?
Staffingdebt.com. Okay, well, I don't really, these guys, I have never billed them, and I'm not going to, I have to start billing them in the new year, even though I've done ads for 6 months. Okay, staffingdebt.com. They collect for recruiters, okay? Agency people. They go chasing after the fees when your clients cheat you, okay? And they've got backdoor hires that'll find out.
I might need to talk to them soon.
Okay. Wilson Cole. He's a nice guy. He was a guest a couple of months or 6 months ago now. He's a very good guest. Staffingdebt.com. What's the time? 2 minutes left. Last word to Erin, the guest. Anything else?
Yeah, I think just go out and be the light you want to see in the world. We get to talk to a lot of candidates, and you can make their day better. So I think just add a little compassion.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Yeah, okay.
This little light of mine.
Anybody else? Last word.
Especially during the pandemic, people don't get to talk to a lot of people, so you'd be surprised. You might be their only call this day. So our jobs are important.
That's right. Bring it in for a hug.
Yeah.
I'm all warm and cuddly, guys.
You did a great job, Erin. You did.
Thank you.
Yeah, she did. No, she
Well
can come
done.
back.
A lot of fun.
You're very lovable. Yeah. Okay. You're like Amy, but not so threatening because
Like
you're
this.
tall.
You don't have to be a guest to come back, by the way.
No, you can look
Thank
at
you. I will. This was
anytime.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Let me see if I can get some music up for the close. No.
It was nice to meet you all too on the call.
How do I turn it off? How do I?
Animal, I just remembered, I do have a website. You see this thing here? GoingLiveEvents.com. That's my website.
Oh, you gotta put
Okay.
it into the chat.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Leave
Take care.
meeting. I'm still here.
What's the music?
End meeting for